Welcome to Truth in the Barrel, everyone. Today we have a great episode. We're going to be talking about the administration's claims about autism. We'll be talking about Trump's bonkers speech to the UN, and about the border czar getting a bribe, and also things like, how do you label a domestic terror organization? What's that all about? And we'll have some good news for everyone, talking about America's newest astronaut class, which is really, really cool. So welcome, everyone. I'm Amy McGrath. I'm along with Denver Riggleman, international man of mystery.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I am. I'm all over the place. I did cancel my Canada trip, though. So I'm so glad to be here because I would be coming back from Canada today. So
Would be very tired.
I would be very tired. I'm excited to be here, and I know that we have a lot to talk about and some incredible famous guest, which I'm really excited about too.
Well, important guests. I only bring the best and
You do.
The mostest experts out there. Our first topic today, and this is a really important one that just happened this week at a White House event, Denver. Donald Trump, our president, told pregnant women not to take Tylenol because he and HHS Secretary RFK Jr. now claim that it causes autism. And so, do we have the clip, Doug? Can we play this clip?
Don't take Tylenol. Don't give Tylenol to the baby after the baby's born. Every time the baby gets a shot, the baby gets a shot. They say, here, take a cup of Tylenol. I've heard that for years. Take Tylenol. Don't take Tylenol. Don't have your baby take Tylenol. Now, Tylenol is fine for people that aren't pregnant, that aren't in the situation that we're talking about. One very specific situation. If you're pregnant, don't take Tylenol. When you have your baby, don't give your baby Tylenol at all.
I think that he doesn't think. I never thought there'd be a war on Tylenol. And I'm wondering if they're going to take away the warning stickers on cigarette packs now, because I'm to the point with HHS and how ludicrous this is. We're a snake oil salesman country. I think at this point it'd be very difficult for me to believe anything that they say. But the fact that he would somehow, after decades of scientific fact finding, would say that to tough it out to women during
pregnant women. Yeah.
This guy can't walk up the stairs to Air Force One. I don't know what to say.
I think the first thing that we do have to say right off the bat is none of these warnings are claims by Donald Trump, by RFK Jr., these recommendations that they're pushing now. None of them are supported or based on science.
None.
There's been no study out there that shows that acetaminophen, we call it Tylenol, causes autism. In fact, doctors say Tylenol is like one of the safest drugs to take. I just thought it's so ludicrous and we laugh, but I feel like we do have to talk about it because they have a bully pulpit with being, unfortunately in charge of our federal government, which a lot of people listen to. So I thought today, Denver, it would be really important to bring in somebody to talk with us about this, a lifelong pediatrician, medical doctor for over 50 years, friend of the podcast, and my awesome mom, Dr. Marianne McGrath. So,
oh my gosh,
let's bring Dr. McGrath on. Mom, how are you?
Wow, what an introduction.
Doctor.
Woo!
50 some years.
Well, first of all, you should be pleased to know that within 24 hours of these outrageous lies perpetrated by the leaders of our country, our medical society, my medical society, and those throughout the country received a bulletin from our Academy of Medicine that reminded us of the truth and what's really recommended and why, and reminded us of how outrageous and untrue the false statements that have been made really are. If there was ever a question that doctors needed to be reminded of the truth, and I suppose, like all humans, we do on occasion, we've been reminded.
Yeah.
So,
What was your reaction when you heard this? Based off of 50 years experience as an actual doctor.
Well, I'm kind of an actual doctor. I'm
You don't
kinda
just
like
play one on
Denver.
TV.
You get no, I don't play one on TV. I this is so outrageous that there are no words. My first reaction was to laugh out loud, but following very close behind that, I wanted to cry because I'm listening to these lies that are being thrown out as truth to the American people who may or may not have the training or the cognitive skills or a background sufficient to sort out the truth. One of the things that I've always been tried to be aware of in my children's education, yours, Aim, and Matt's and Janie's, and certainly in my grandkids, and has been whether or not you've been taught critical thinking. And even when I was in high school and college, there was such a course as logic, you know, um, and really they way back in those days, more than 50 years ago, that was something that was studied. It's been studied progressively and it has evolved, by the way, progressively, from the 1600s on. So putting out statements that have no bearing in truth or logic is just unconscionable.
What does the current research actually show regarding causes of autism? Because you hear this a lot. You hear this, autism has increased. The president said it's up 400%. What is the truth here?
Well, the truth is that autism, which is a neurological disorder that is generally diagnosed within the first year of life now, was not years ago, and manifests itself in many different ways. Okay. So many different ways that it's very difficult to cone down a definition of autism that lends itself to good scientific study. Therein lies the problem. The definition, what we recognize as this neurologic disorder, has changed over the past couple centuries, even, and certainly changed and evolved over the past many decades. As that happens, the criteria to fall into this definition of autism has also dramatically changed, so much so that we don't really refer to autism so much anymore as a thing, a diagnosis, like polio, for instance, which is associated with a specific organism and it has specific manifestations in the body. Okay, but we refer to the autism spectrum, and that tells us something about the length of manifestation or symptoms that can present in the conglomerate of this neurologic disorder. Because we've changed the definition and because we have greater public awareness, as we've learned more about this kind of illness, if you will, we recognize its presence earlier and over a greater spectrum of symptoms.
Yeah.
Just that alone has added innumerable people to the numbers, and it does not mean that the disorder is any more prominent today than it was 100 years ago, but we certainly recognize it more often now.
Yeah. There's this thing I've been reading about publication bias, which is this idea that there are studies, they do studies on all kinds of things. And so they've been doing studies for like decades of whether there is a link between things like Tylenol or really anything else
Mhm.
and autism or autistic symptoms, shall we say now. And if there's no link, then those studies are never published. And so, it's like when there is a study out there that might show some association but not causation, which is another thing that people get confused. Sometimes people, run with it. Even though there's like 99, there's one study out there that has some association, then there's 99 that show none.
Yeah.
Do you see that? I mean, do you see that happening here?
Well, there are a lot of kind of misgivings in that collection of statement. And I have to say that first of all, is there such a thing as publication bias? Probably, but I don't. I honestly, personally, do not believe that that's pertinent in the autism question.
Okay.
And I say that because there are too many other obvious things that have contributed to what is being called by the administration a dramatic increase in the incidence
Right.
and prevalence, two different things, of autism today.
Okay.
And I think it has to do largely with the things that I mentioned before. Now, also, you don't hide studies that you do, okay? In science, you start off with the concept of a hypothesis, something that you think might be. And so you go to explore the possibility that there might be a connection. But you construct that study such that you try and make as many things alike in the
Right.
particular individuals that you're studying as possible. That's called controlling the variables, okay? And that's a very important thing to be able to do. One of the important things that characterizes good studies. Another important thing is that if you're looking at something that has broad implications, an incidence across the world, for instance, then one of the things that you would look at is the number of people that you're including in your study. You're not going to try to learn much of a connection of something if you have 10 people that you're studying.
Right.
And if you start those 10 people with already having the kind of illness that you want, because to backtrack and determine, for example, what was the case for this mother of this 25-year-old during pregnancy, that's likely not to be able to acquire the data that you need to make any kind of an association.
Yeah.
It's like the old thing, the Fountain Square is full of Democrats. Amy is at Fountain Square. Therefore, Amy is a Democrat. No.
It's like basic grade school level,
Yes.
how do you run an actual experiment?
That's
But I
correct.
wanted to ask, and I want to bring Denver in on this because there's politics behind this, right?
Yeah,
And supposedly the administration and RFK Jr. have been saying that they are going to tell America the causes of autism, that somehow, and I'm interested in your opinion, Denver, when you were in Congress, somehow previous administrations were like covering up this great conspiracy of the causes of autism, and we are going to let the American people know. And so they get into office, they find out that wow, there's nothing there, that the causes are still being studied, and so they just have to make something up, right? Is that how you see this,
No,
Denver?
of course it's made up. Yeah, they had to because he said he was going to have answers in September, right, Amy? So that's what he did. And when you listen to real doctors, like we have on this show today, and you look at facts and data and how you do scientific inquiry. The other thing too, there's another layer to this. Not only did he have to come out with something stupid. I mean, this is a guy who stuck his fingers in bears and said that ears leak with 5G. Just a complete quack, an awful human being, right? Stupidity is terminal. But there's also a financial investment here of leucovorin. So if you're talking about what they're talking about is to take leucovorin or folinic acid, leucovorin, right? The biggest purveyor of leucovorin, one of them is eye health, I believe, which is a Dr. Oz thing. So what I'm looking at right now is this is also a money trip for snake oil salesmen, homeopathy, anti-vaxxers, people who don't believe in scientific method, people who eat dandelion heads, right, when they have cancer. And I think that's what this is too. I think this is actually a money grab by funneling people's monies to quack treatments, and by demonizing a company that shouldn't have been demonized. I just think they had to make it up. And I think this Make America Healthy Again is really, keep America in the dark ages. I don't know what that would be, CADA. So, I mean, I think that's the best I got, Amy, because it's so ludicrous. But 77 million people voted for Trump, and I think your point was well taken. It's dead on, and Dr. McGrath, you too, right? Is that both of these are true? They're wrong. This is a financial incentive thing, as far as I can see, but also tens of millions of people will believe it. Amy, I'm with you at the beginning where you said you laugh about it, but we know they're going to believe. There's going to be people who are pregnant, who don't take Tylenol, put themselves at risk, and they're taking drugs like folinic acid or taking something else ridiculous, right? The root of the cherry tree, instead of doing what's right for them and their body, because they're being run by idiots.
Well, and before we say, goodbye and thank you to Dr. McGrath here, I just, for all of our listeners, I want them to hear it from somebody who, like I said, is an actual doctor, 50 years. Is Tylenol okay to take if you're pregnant,
Absolutely.
Mom?
Unquestionably. Now, is there any drug, any substance, anything, any food that you can imbibe that is 100% safe for every human being? Absolutely not. That does not exist. So no medicine is 100% safe, okay? No food is 100% safe. You're going to have the odd person who's got an allergy, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but believe me, Tylenol, among the medicines that we currently prescribe, in its generic form, so made by other manufacturers, is one of the most widely studied and widely used. We talked before about the importance of having large numbers of people involved in being able to say, this has been shown to have a wide margin of safety. It is. We don't take medicine unless we have symptoms. And I'm sorry, females they may tough it out more often, but they're no better set to tough it out than are men. And it's absolutely misogynistic for the president to say, if you can't suck it up, then maybe take one Tylenol. Well, if an adult takes one Tylenol, only get half the effect. because an adult doses do. I mean, Tylenol is among the safest medicines that's commonly used.
And I just so appreciate you coming on, Mom, and for everybody listening. That's it. Talk to your doctor. We've got a doctor here on the show to tell you, talk to your doctor, okay? Because what the administration is saying here is bonkers.
Yeah.
America's
Thank
mom.
you. Thank you,
America's
Dr.
mom.
McGrath, for coming on this show.
You're welcome, Amy McGrath.
Love you, Mom.
You're welcome, Denver Riggleman.
Thank you, ma'am.
I enjoy your show. Take care.
Well,
all right. So Denver, I have two last points before we move on.
okay.
Don't you just love how pregnant women are always blamed for everything? I mean, I just sort of feel that whole tough it out. My mom was talking about that. But here's the kicker. Here's the last point we'll make. And Medicaid does this home community-based service. They have these life-saving programs that help autistic people live independently. They provide, transportation, shopping, cooking, daily routines to avoid institutionalization of these Americans. And guess what? Republicans in this bill that they just passed with this president is cutting those programs. And I just think it needs to be said kind of over and over again, because we talk about these crazy bonkers things that the administration does, and that seems to soak up a lot of the airwaves, shall we say. But the real impacts of the policies that they have pushed through are real, and they're hurting the very people who are on the autistic spectrum.
Well, we become Quackistan, right? I mean, we're just insane. And to have somebody like RFK Jr. leading this just shows not just that we're unserious, we're dangerously effed up as a country to have somebody as stupid as RFK Jr., somebody as deliberately obtuse, somebody with very bad designs and pushing monies towards natural cures that are ridiculous. And I think that's where we're at right now, is this is just a money flip. Because stupid people's money spends just like smart people.
Well, I just think we still have to keep talking about the truth here. Still have to keep bringing on experts and things like that, and keep getting the word out. But I want to go from one topic that is bonkers to another topic that is bonkers, and that was President Trump's UN speech. And to me, the bottom line for it was, bonkers, as I said, but also the weakening of American leadership, world leadership on full display at the United Nations. I mean, 25% of his speech was attacking efforts to address climate change. Apparently now, renewable energy is the biggest threat to our country.
That's because of oil companies.
I mean,
everything he says is profit motive and grift. And when I heard that speech, I have to tell you, Amy, you know where it is, right? Everything goes to the money. And I'm hoping people are following the money, but everything that he says is about his donors. It's about oligarchs in this country now. When I said Quackistan, I mean it. We're quacks, right? We have tens of millions of people that are quacks, but our entire administration is full of lapdogs and sycophants. And I think, and also people that are deliberately, again, lying to the American public, whether it's tariffs, whether it's the UN and climate change, whether it's saying that he knows everything again and calling other countries pretty much pathetic. It's hard not to think that.
Yeah, he said to all of these other countries, you're going to hell.
You're going to hell? I mean, just
that's
shut
what he
the fuck up. And I think people are really scared to use the language that he really is. Whether you're talking about the Epstein files, whether he's adjudicated sexual felon, all the things that he is. And I think that UN speech, I think the world leaders now understand. I don't think we've weakened as leaders. I think we're gone. I don't know how we get it back, because if it's a J.D. Vance presidency or 28, or Trump runs again in 28, which I think is a possibility based on how they're setting up their constitutional arguments for the Supreme Court, I think we're in really bad shape in the world, Amy. And the speech, I think, was just indicative of the sickness and disease that we have in this country.
Well, first of all, there was a lot of insults in the speech. The president insulted the Muslim mayor of London. He said that Muslim leaders in the West are planning to institute Sharia law. I mean, there's no...
That's 2008 conspiracy theories. They're bringing back the Obama conspiracy theories, Amy.
He badly wants the Nobel Peace Prize for what he thinks are negotiating all of these ends to wars, which, he really didn't do. He, of course, declined to pay for more aid to Ukraine to fight off the Russian invasion. And the lies are just, they're so consistent now. I mean, I'm not even going to go through them, but the one that struck me was when he talks to, I guess, the world and to the American public saying, quote, "Our bills are coming way down. Gasoline prices are way down, drill, baby, drill." And, electricity prices have gone up under this administration. They've gone up. Gasoline prices are the exact same from last year. They haven't gone down. And I mean, just that's in addition to all of the other lies about securing trillions of dollars of commitments and money from other countries through these tariffs. It's just a bunch of BS.
Well, and people need to look at the economic data that came out the day of the Tylenol announcement, which was completely obliterated by the Tylenol announcement. There's companies coming out and also nonprofit services that jobs are to a point that our unemployment could be as high as 5%, which you're talking about a massive increase in joblessness across the country. You're talking about inflation starting to balloon. The tariffs are costing I think it was just over $2,000 per American family now.
Yeah.
More. All this stuff is starting to, listen, you can't stop. Crazy will dismember every institution. Ignorance, crazy, white nationalism, Sharia law, conspiracy theories. But before you know it, they're going to be talking about the Muslim Brotherhood again. Listen, if you're looking at what's happening right now with the trad right, what I call them, the alt-right, it's as bad as fundamental Islamicism. So we have this sort of this Christo-fascist, we have to be a Christian nation at the same time trying to roll off into Sharia law conspiracy theories. It's all bullshit. It's all lies. It's made up. It's fever dream, direct line to the supernatural, talking to sky fairy stuff. And I think that's the issue that we have right now, is that we have no baseline of fact. We have no baseline of what real Christianity actually means to people. This isn't real Christian. This is a bizarre thing. And now they have to spin off these conspiracy theories and lies and this sort of this smoke string, this opaque thing where we can't see what's going on behind the door. We're the most transparent, but we're going to stop any type of journalist from talking about anything unless the Pentagon approves it. You know what I mean, Amy? They're saying one thing, but it's what they're doing that's absolutely about the worst of what humans can be. And our country seems to be aspiring to that awfulness right now.
Well, we're running away from the world. We're weakening this administration and the Republicans enabling right now the weakening of America on the world stage. And from a lot of people may not like the UN. A lot of people don't think
not a huge fan. I think it's a sort of corrupt institution.
Collective organizations matter and all that. But we built the UN. It's in New York City. That came out of World War II and the Greatest Generation that fought to try to create a world that was more peaceful. And you know what? We haven't had major nuclear war. Okay, so it's done
That's
some
nice.
good. Okay, hey, but here's the thing: the White House is cutting off funding for the UN because they don't like the UN. And here's the problem that I have: power vacuums. They don't stay empty. Who's going to go in? Who's going to roll right in and start funding? Who do you think, Denver?
I think it might be some big countries that we don't like China's and the Russia's.
Yeah. China's going to take advantage of this immediately. And they already are. They're coming in. They're now going to fund these organizations. Trump withdrew from the World Health Organization. Guess who rolled right in there? China with $500 million in funding. It wins them goodwill. It wins them headlines around the world. In June, China won a bid to host a crucial conference next year, Denver, called the International Telecommunication Union Conference, or it's actually in 2027. How big is that, the International Telecommunication Union? Like that
It's
sets policy for satellite communication and
massive.
internet cables. How big is that? How important is that?
It means that China becomes the leader as far as how to manipulate what comms look like, and people forget about Huawei. People think that AT&T is big, Amy, or Verizon. They forget that China has some of the biggest telecom companies in the world, and they are way ahead on technology. And I think that's what we don't understand is the power of communications, the power of owning bandwidth is the power to really manipulate the entire global system.
Who sets the rules? And China is going to be setting the rules for the world. The world is going to be shaped by China thanks to weak Republicans and a weak administration led by a president who really has no plan and just thrives on chaos. That's what's happening right now.
Absolutely.
Denver, what is up with this $50,000 in cash bribe to Tom Homan? For those of you listening, Tom Homan is the administration's border czar. And apparently, Tom Homan doesn't deny taking this cash. What's the deal here?
September of 2024. So if he would, here's the issue. There's this fine line when you're a consultant. And, what I said on the interview with MSNBC the other day, Amy, I said, well, $50,000. I mean, Meta promised $600 billion, right? They already paid off during their inauguration fees also, right? When they gave for his inauguration fund for Trump, they've already paid off. They're doing it in the wide open. $50,000. I mean, I think Tom Homan gets fired by the Trump administration because they think he's not a big enough criminal. Why are you could have had $500,000, you dumbass, right? What are you doing? We're real criminals in this administration.
Before he came onto the administration. This supposedly happened before he was recorded by the FBI, recorded with a tape recording.
Oh, yeah.
Taking this cash from undercover FBI agents posing as businessmen, right?
Here's where he crossed the line, and that's why they don't want to release the recording. You can take money as a consultant. That's how you actually charge on some type of contract. Lobbying is this way. It's really legal theft, right? It's rent seeking. It's all the things that you do to lobby because our government is run on money and it's corrupt, but it's legal. The thing that he crossed the line, Amy, where it gets scary is he goes, when I am in the Trump administration, I'll run contracts to you. That's illegal. Mm-hmm. That's bribery. So my guess is he said that specifically with the FBI is like, whoa, wait a second. That's illegal as hell. And I don't think, and then he's going, I'm going to sue MSNBC. He don't want to do discovery. He will not. And if they do sue, he'll go right up to the point of discovery and then they'll withdraw. It'll be in the news. And the news will never, ever report that he actually had to withdraw. They'll only report that he's suing because they want access and they're pieces of crap. So I think that's what you have right now is that what happened, he crossed the line as a consultant by saying when he's in government that he would actually provide contracts. I also think he's small time, right? When you look at the big time criminals in the Trump administration, I think they're looking at Homan as sort of this small time guy, right? Maybe he wanted to buy a new Honda Fit, right? Or he needed a new Peloton bike, right? I mean, that's not big time. So I think really he's an unserious criminal and he's an unserious administrator. So I think that eventually he goes away.
Well, a couple of things. The case was closed once Trump got into office, right? And Homan became part of DHS and part of the administration. And, he went on TV and basically didn't deny that he avoided the question.
I did nothing criminal. Did you take the $50,000? I did nothing criminal. No. That wasn't the question.
Yeah, and there's a real concern here. And I actually think that the American people deserve to hear these tapes. Why? Because he is in the administration and because he is responsible. That remember, the Republicans just passed this bill that gave billions of dollars to, quote, secure the border. And a lot of that money goes to private contractors, in which this guy now, there's this perception that he is going to be, handing them, selling the contracts for his own personal profit. Now, I'm just saying there's a perception out there based on this reporting. So in my mind, I would think this should be something that the American people should know about and see those tapes and listen to those tapes, because this is our government here.
Yeah, I think the Homan tapes are buried next to the Epstein files. I really do. I don't. I think that's what we're seeing.
It just smells bad. It smells really bad.
Release the Homan tapes.
There you go. I mean, I'd rather see the Epstein tapes first, but
yeah, absolutely.
But I think it's important.
Release the Homan tapes. I mean, what a putz this guy is.
Now it's time. This is the best part of our show. Okay.
Yes.
And it's the Whiskey Minute, and we haven't had one in a while, Denver.
No,
I
we
know,
have not.
but
No.
I have something special today. I wanted to ask you about it. My husband got this for me. It is Woodford Reserve Double Oaked.
Double oaked.
This is what it looks like, double oaked. And it says it's twice barreled. So as I open it and pour here, I wanted to ask you, what the heck does that mean?
Means they put some more staves in it. I mean, it's sort of a scam, right?
Really?
It just it's double oaked means they just added more fresh staves, or they aged it for a while. It's like Maker's Mark 46, right? So, or they might transfer it to another barrel where it's double oaked, but really they just stick more staves in there and then say it's double oaked. And I mean, whatever.
Well,
it's good though. I mean,
smells
I'm not saying
wonderful.
it's bad.
It smells
I'm not
like
saying it's
maple
bad
syrup.
at all. I'm sitting here. So I did bring whiskey, but I forgot my glass. So,
oh no, you might have to drink straight. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, I like this. It's very strong. It's darker.
That's going to be
richer.
played if I ever run for office again. This is the picture they're going to have. It's going to be like this. It's going to be like,
Yeah. Well,
drinking out of the bottle.
I like it. It's very strong.
It's delicious.
If
we
you're
have it.
Wanting the stronger,
It's great,
darker, richer honey spices. It's
good.
Pretty good one. All
We
right,
have
double
Woodford
oak.
for double oak, and we have our name on the actual bottle when we went to Woodford.
I don't have that. I don't have my name.
I'm pretty cool, Amy. I'm pretty.
You must
damn
know
cool.
somebody.
I think we paid $30 to get it etched. I think I knew the guy I had to pay. God,
All right.
It's just crazy. It's just been. I don't even know about this show today. Right, the fact that we have to talk about Tylenol as a cause of autism, which is ridiculous. Trump's ridiculous speech at the UN. Tom Homan, who's going after every single person with masked individuals, right? Taking $50,000 from the FBI, promising jobs, knowing that he's actually going to even make more money on the flip, Amy, because it's really about the flip, right? He gets those jobs, and he gets a big job when he comes out. So it's all just a corruption and grift and lies, and really the worst government that we've had in our history. And I will say that we are maybe in the worst time in our history right now.
A lot of people voted for this administration to tackle corruption. And I think what we're seeing is that it's on steroids now. With all
they
these
don't
things.
even hide it. Trump crypto.
It's very sad. But I want to get into quick shots, because there are some other things that I really want your take on.
All right.
Okay?
I'm ready.
So this past week, the U.S. Department of Agriculture came out and said they're no longer doing the food security report. And so wanted to kind of get your take on that. And here's why. Food security is important. These are it tells us the amount of households that are struggling to put food on the table. And just so you know, in Virginia, I looked this up. Virginia, it's 1 in 9 Virginians.
It's insane.
So 14 or 11%. And then in Kentucky, it's about 1 in 8 Kentuckians that are food insecure. So why would you stop this report here?
Well, I think part of it is they don't want any reporting on the failure of their government, right? The failure of their policies. The other thing too, they have to keep this Doge type of thing of cutting government out. And I think, so you're getting this combination where any data, any facts-based data is an enemy to a non-transparent and corrupt government. So if you can take away real facts about how policies are affecting everyday Americans, you can lie and gaslight as much as you can. So every time you see another data-based activity taken away in a nonpartisan way, that's to cover up the failed policies of this administration and to gaslight and lie to Americans.
Yeah, I totally agree. Here's how I see this. Republicans push this big, beautiful betrayal bill, whatever you want to call it, into law that cuts food assistance, cuts food stamps, cuts SNAPs for needy Americans, for kids, helping that helps millions of Americans. They cut the benefits, and then they stop collecting the data that shows how many families in America are struggling to put food on the table as a direct result of cutting the benefits. That's how this works.
It's so evident to everyone that actually has working synapses in their brain.
So also this week, the Department of Defense will now force reporters to take a pledge not to gather or use any information that had not been formally authorized for release by the Department of War, whatever you want to call it, or they will risk losing their credential to cover the military. So they'll basically be kicked out. All right. They won't be able to cover the military on any base, anywhere, or the Pentagon. They have to sign a form agreeing to these new rules. WTF?
Well, it's almost like our press has become Pravda and our Congress has become the Duma.
Well, that's what Don Bacon said of Nebraska. He's a former brigadier general in the Air Force. He wrote on social media. I'm going to read this. He wrote on social media, "This is so dumb that I have a hard time believing it's true. We don't want a bunch of Pravda newspapers only
Bacon
touting the
beat me.
government's official position."
He beat me to the punch. I got to call Don. God, I thought I was being like the man right there.
But here's the thing, folks. Imagine the Afghanistan pullout, okay? And you remember in the Afghanistan pullout, the chaos and the reporting that was going on. Imagine if we didn't if the Department of Defense then were to have told reporters, we're only going to let you report on what we tell you to report on. So how about that? Remember that drone strike afterwards that, the Department of Defense said, hey, we got the guys that blew up the Abbey Gate. And then we come to find out a week later, they didn't get the guys. They got some poor, apple seller.
Some poor rando.
And so imagine if the Pentagon were to then say, oh, no, we're not going to have any reporting or any reporters that don't, say the Kool-Aid stuff that we want them to say.
Reporters will go along with it too, Amy.
We have a history in America of battlefield reporting, Vietnam, the Pentagon Papers. And now we have a Department of War, Department of Defense that is started out kicking the press out of the Pentagon. They would insert groups like Breitbart in there and kick out, the AP.
Told the press what we were doing on Signal.
Yeah. I mean, you have a Department of Defense leader in the Secretary of Defense who put, operational details, the most classified of all things classified, folks. The most classified of all things classified are actually operational details of something that is going to happen or is happening. He put on a text chain. Seriously.
I imagine people listening to us right now, Amy, in their vehicles, like on their podcasts, like slamming their fists against the dashboard or shaking their steering wheel, because what we've talked about today is so insane. It's so stupid. It's so ignorant. It's so quacked. It's so bizarre. It's mental illness on a level I don't know if we can really get our arms around. And you're right. We got to keep speaking truth. But it's the people listening to us. They need to interact also with people who come to them with this type of crazy and confront them. And I just wonder if facts-based, sane people who are normal, right, who aren't living in rage every day based on, the rapture coming, which a lot of people was upset. It didn't happen on Tuesday. I think those kind of people, the normies, right? The people that are sane, the people who use scientific method and critical thought, it's not as hard for them to get angry, right? Because they're like, there's no way that these people can be this stupid. But I just need people that are listening to me and you right now to understand they are that stupid. And you can't, in a party, if you're at church, if you're in a school, and you got an idiot comes up to you and says, don't take Tylenol because it causes autism, you need to let them know immediately that they have been misled by the dumbest human being on the planet, because sourcing in science says that he's wrong and he's a liar. And if you believe that, right, that you need to not really hang out too much with people who are that dumb, and you need to confront them. And I'm sorry, that's just where I'm at, Amy, is that you have to be confrontational now.
Yeah, we do, and the stuff like the silencing of Pentagon reporters, that is a big deal. I mean, think
It's a
about
huge deal.
the fact that we just had 3 different strikes on random speedboats in the Caribbean, and there's nobody that's going to be asking, "Hey, where was the evidence for these guys for you to execute them on the high seas?" I mean, I feel like that's kind of just, oh, we're just done with that now, and that's because we don't have a Pentagon press pull right now that it has the we've got an administration that's trying to get rid of free speech and trying to get rid of the freedom of the press.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Press is a threat
one
to
other
them.
thing I want to get your take on before we go to some good news, and there is some good news. Antifa now, the administration has now labeled Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization and is directing the Trump administration to investigate any illegal operations carried out by Antifa and pursue people who fund such operations. And I'm all for going after terrorists. Let me just say that. Like, I fought terrorists, okay?
Yeah, me too.
But I'm just wondering your take on this, because I noted that the right-wing extremist groups like Proud Boys and Three Percenters,
the base,
the Three Percenters,
NSC
by the way,
131.
actually plotted in October of 2020 to kidnap the Michigan governor. They were associated with that, but apparently they are not on this new list.
Well, they were pardoned.
Oh, right.
We forgot, right, that a bunch of, vets and wannabes and losers, right, mouth breathing, what they call themselves, right? What do they call them? Western chauvinists, which is another name for white nationalists. These insurrectionists, these pieces of dung, right, are running around out there weaponized by a gaslighting, glue-sniffing president. But we have an acronym, anti-fascist. What is anti-fascist, Amy? That would be fascist.
And there's no evidence of support between the killer of
course not,
Charlie Kirk or any of these left-wing. There's no evidence of support between any of these left-wing organizations and these.
Or they would have released it.
Killers. I mean, I don't know. It's just yeah. All right.
Well,
I want to get into some cheers. Can we do some time for that? Because this is my favorite part. There's 2 things that are really interesting, I think, stories coming out. The first one is that we now have the technology for these AirPods to double as hearing aids and foreign language translators. So if you have these AirPods in, you can actually talk to somebody else who has their AirPods in. And if you both have the same translation app on Apple, I guess it's the AirPods Pro 3, you can have a fluid conversation being translated. Isn't that cool?
It's so great. And I'm sure the hearing aid lobby will try to ban these. That's what I've heard.
I mean, this would have made, when my husband and I we got married, and we did not have a honeymoon right away because we both deployed to Afghanistan right after we got married.
You're serving your
Eric was up
country
in
and such.
Kabul and I was down in Helmand province. So we did our actual honeymoon like a year later. And we did this tour through France. And we tried to do the Rosetta Stone, like the Rosetta Stone prior to going to France because neither one of us speak the language. It was so painful. And we were terrible. And we couldn't, we'd be there trying to order stuff on the menu, and we basically just had to turn to the people next to us and be like, we're gonna order what they have. Just point to that one. Wouldn't this be great just to have, when you're traveling?
It would.
Listen to people. I don't know.
Just completely listen on their conversations and, that kind of stuff. Be all voyeuristic.
Translating. There's also these AI glasses out there, and you probably know about this.
I do.
When you put on these glasses, it can read for people who are blind or partially blind. They can read texts on menus, receipts, mail, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. You can see the signs in the subway stations. So this is pretty incredible.
They also have glasses that can do automatic identity resolution. So if you look at a person, it does facial recognition and tells you who they are, where they live. It's great.
Ooh.
That's coming. And that's a hell of a cheers. But I got a feeling though that the hearing aid lobbies and the ophthalmologists not auditory people.
I'm an optimist. You're not an optimist.
I'm an optimist. What do you mean?
I think this is going to be good. You're like,
I'm love, light, and lollipops.
All right, let's talk about the new astronaut group. There's 10 new astronauts for our country. And 6 of them are women, which I think is really cool. They're not astronauts overnight. They get selected, right? And they go through a couple of years of training, and then they're eligible to go into orbit. This group might be the first ones to go to Mars. You never know. But Denver, there's one of them from Charlottesville, Virginia.
That's right. Yes, that's correct. And I thought that was fantastic. And it's just awesome to have that kind of astronaut class. So cheers, right?
Cheers to them. And I'm going to tell you, you have one from Charlottesville. We have one from Kentucky. I'm going to talk about her real quick, okay? I don't know her personally, but her name is Lieutenant Commander Erin Overcash, call sign Loft. She's from Goshen, Kentucky, which is near Louisville.
Okay.
And of course, we have a lot in common. She is an experienced F-18 Echo and Fox driver, a Super Hornet pilot, stationed at Oceana, Virginia, which I spent some time there as well. But she is like a bigger badass than I am. First of all, her call sign is Loft. And their call sign, I think, is Loft because she was a 2-time Kentucky State champion high jumper.
Oh.
So I'm guessing that's why her call sign was Loft. But she is also an Ironman triathlete.
She's badass.
She trained with the U.S. women's rugby national team. And this is the kicker for those of you who are not fighter pilots. She was a graduate of the U.S. Naval Test Pilot School in Pax River. And that pretty much the best of the best go there. When I read her bio, I was like, holy shnikes. So Kentucky veteran, awesome, who's going to be married to another naval aviator. So we also have that in common. But cheers to all of the astronauts and specifically to those from Kentucky. I'm not proud. Oh, nice.
Cheers.
All right.
By the way, if everybody wants to hear more of this, right, you have to subscribe. You got to go to YouTube. You got to go to Substack now. Make sure you follow us on our socials like X and Blue Sky and True Social. You have to do it all. Instagram. Just get on there because we are the #1 show in the world when it comes to facts, data, and just awesome, good-looking people. So I think that's why people need to go and subscribe to every channel that Truth in the Barrel is on, and you get great shows like this.
Cheers, everyone, from Truth in the Barrel. See you next time.